Hello, everybody. It is good to be with you in a new way. We, of course, wish we could be with you as we normally are, but we can't right now, so this is the best we got. But we're so excited to get to try something out with you today. Joining us, of course, is Pastor Steve, and everybody say hey to Stephen wherever you're at. Steve, how are you, man?
Man, I am doing good. Going a little stir crazy. Been in this house for too long, but doing good. Yeah, no complaints.
I feel you, man. It's been a whole lot of being inside at once. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
But we're hanging in there, I hope. We hope all of you at home are doing all right. We miss you terribly. We wish we could see you. We can't wait till we get to see you again. And we hope you're doing well. Stephen, what's been the most exciting part of your quarantine so far?
Yeah, as many of you probably know because you follow me on Instagram, but we got a puppy. And so that's for sure been the most exciting thing. Being able to train her, have her be able to sit. She comes when you call, especially if you have treats. So it's just been fun getting to hang out with her and being able to hang out with Virginia as well. It's been a lot of fun. So that's probably been the best thing for me. What about you, Lanier? What you been up to?
Man, just a lot of chasing a toddler around the house. The house definitely got a lot smaller in the last few weeks here without the ability to go anywhere. But thankfully we've had some good weather, so we've been excited to be able to get outside and hang out with him and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so today, just to give you a quick rundown kind of on what we are going to be doing today, we're going to play some games. We're going to have some fun with that. We're going to have a couple of contestants join us, but you are also welcome to join us from home. We hope that you'll play along with us. That's coming up next. We've got some segments that we're going to be trying out, some recurring segments that we'll do every week that we hope you'll enjoy. We've got a special guest from the past today that we're very excited for you to see with us. We think you'll be excited to see him as well. And then we're actually going to start back into the Bible Project a little bit. We're going to be doing some of the Bible Project theme videos over these next few weeks. And so we hope that you'll enjoy that with us. We're having a couple of little technical issues, so instead of being able to bring everybody in super seamlessly, I'm going to have to kind of be on Skype at the same time that I'm doing this. So bear with us for a few minutes. Steve, can you take the reins for a minute while I try and get our next guests on with us?
Yeah. Hey guys, in the comments below, tell us what has been your favorite thing that you have done so far. I also want to know what has been some of the most, or what is the most creative thing you have built, whether it be a fort, or what is some of the most creative things that you guys have been doing. We would love to hear about that. Let's see, what else? If you guys want, comment below as we're going through this and tell us what you think. We would love to hear what you guys think about what's going on here. So please, let's hear it in the comments below.
All right, we are waiting on our special guest for this game. We've had some good help from some folks on the game. We had Michael and Sabrina Koo contributed. Emmy Velez contributed. So we've got some fun stuff to do with them. We are trying to get our people in here. Give me one. Hopefully it'll work.
Oh,
there's one. Okay, now we need.
What a guy.
We need one more.
It says Tom McGuire there. I got excited and then I remembered it.
Wow, that's rude. That's so mean.
Rude. I know. Jeez, come on,
so
man.
let's bring in contestant number one here.
Ooh.
Let's bring in the one and only Teak Walters. Teak, everybody can see you now. You're out here. Welcome. And let's try to get our other contestant.
Absolutely.
See that? Exactly. It's my name.
Nice.
You have your own name on your shirt.
How'd that get there, Teak? Did you put it yourself?
My neighbor volunteer business, and he said, "Hey, I need your help," and I was like, "All right." And then he gave me a shirt and had my name on it.
All right.
Yeah.
Love that, Teak. So, Teak, what's one of your favorite things that you've done during this quarantine time?
A lot of fishing.
Nice.
Oh, look at this guy.
Look at that.
Oh,
All right. Well, now that we have both of our contestants, we're going to play a little game of spot the differences. We're going to play a little game of spot the differences. So I'm going to be sending Ellie and Teak these pictures. They'll also be up here that everyone can see. Give me one.
33 people are watching this. That's pretty crazy.
They're all watching you, man. They're all watching you. Let's get it going here.
Butterflies in my tummy.
Teak, I have complete faith in you, man. You're going to do great.
You're actually going down.
You think so?
Yeah. I think you both are going to do great.
I don't know.
I'm not worried at all.
I've never talked to more than like 2 people at once. I don't really know.
Yeah. You sometimes just got to fight through it, man. Just have courage, be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Teak and Ellie, you should be getting picture number 1. And there is picture number 2. Did you guys both receive the pictures?
I got a text from Timmy that says #Team Teak. Oh, I got him. We're good.
All right, here we go. Everybody at home, you can now see them as well. All right. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. We're going to go with Sabrina first.
Okay.
All right, so you got 30 seconds on the clock. Find as many differences as you can.
Wait, don't start.
No. Come on, man.
Don't shout them out. No, write them down real quick. Take note, and I will tell you if you got them right. Everybody at home in the comments, try as well. You got 30 seconds on the clock, starting now.
They probably said that more time.
We'll call it 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's going to be it. Okay. Teak and Ellie. For Sabrina's picture, how many differences did you get, first of all? Teak, how many did you spot?
I got 6.
You got 6, okay. Ellie, how many did you get?
I also got 6.
All right. Teak.
I miscounted. I miscounted. I had 2 written in one slot.
All right, let's try doing it this way. So Teak, you tell me first, and Ellie, you tell me if you also got that one or not. So Teak, what's your first one?
Okay. So the first one I had was like the facial expression. Is it different? I don't know if that's 1.
We're probably not going to count a facial expression because we can't be totally perfect with that on 2 different pictures.
Okay. Next, I have the hands. One is just normal, and the other's like peace.
I had
Okay.
that.
All right, so the peace sign is 1, so you both got 1. All right, Ellie, what's your next one?
Her next, she first has a little blue emblem, and then the second time she...
Hold on, I lost you there for a second. Her necklace?
I think she said necklace.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pendant missing on the necklace. Teak, did you have that one?
Yeah, I did have that
Okay,
one.
2-2. Teak, what's your next one?
The bracelet.
Yep, there's a, hold on. Is there a bracelet thing? Oh, the scrunchie on the arm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scratchy, I had that. Yeah.
Okay, still tied. Ellie, what was your next one?
Okay.
On the back, I couldn't identify what it was, but number 16 on the back wall, there's the thing missing.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's like this silver thing.
There was a silver can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. Okay, Teak, did you have that one?
I did.
All right, Teak, what was your next one?
I doubt it's 1, but I think the rug is like tilted, is like turned. The rug is one way, it's like this way, and the next it's like longer. I don't know, it might be the picture.
Yeah, that might have just been a slight angle change in the picture. I don't have that down. Ellie, what was your next one?
the blue frame behind her sitting on the counter was gone. in the
Yeah.
second picture.
There you go. Teak, did you have that one?
I did not.
The blue picture there was gone. And I've got, let's see, I've got two more. These are tough ones. Let me just say them and we'll see if you got them. Number one, she's missing an earring.
I have that one.
You've got that one. Okay, Ellie, did you get that one?
No.
Okay, so we're back to tied. This could be the tiebreaker on this one. The hair part is different.
No.
I got that.
Seriously?
Oh, Ellie with
flipped
the
over.
hair part,
It's on this side and it's on that side.
and that gets the win. So Ellie takes that one. Okay, let's try round two on this one. I'll send you the pictures right now. While I'm sending the pictures, Ellie, what's been the best part of your week so far?
I had an assignment for a chorus class, like online. So I got to listen to Harry Styles as homework. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream come true for everyone.
It was.
Okay.
What has been your least favorite?
I've had to wake up at like 8 a.m. to get online for video calls.
Yeah.
Sorry, my family's walking in and celebrating for me because I won.
Tell Tom that I'm not sending him my regards next time.
It was Tom, but okay, I'll tell him.
All right, you both should have gotten the next picture. Everybody got it?
I got the first one. Oh, wait, I got the second one. I'm good.
Teak, you good?
Let's see. What do we have here? I do.
All right, here we go. 30 seconds on the clock. Ready, set, go.
I don't know any other game show songs.
I think just run the Jeopardy one back. That one's perfect.
Okay. Do 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 do.
Oh, that was good. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was fast, and that's it. All right, so for the Michael picture, pencils down, pencils down. Come on. All right. Ellie, why don't you kick us off this time?
The crate on the bottom right.
Yep, the crate on the floor is
I do
gone.
have that.
Teek's got that one. All right, Teek, your turn.
The camera on the shelf.
Camera. Yep, the camera's missing. Ellie, do you have that one?
No.
Okay, Teek takes the lead. All right, Ellie, what was your next one?
His headphones.
I do have that.
Teek's got that one. All right, Teek stays one ahead. Teek, what's your next one?
His hat.
Yep, the hat change. Ellie, did you get that one?
Yes.
All right, Ellie, your next one?
His watch on his left hand.
Yep, Teek got that one. Okay, Teek stays one ahead. Teek, what's your next one?
His headphones.
Ellie, did you say that one?
Yeah, we already said
Yeah,
that.
Ellie said that one.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
I think that's it. I think that's all I got. We've gone through, what, 5?
Okay, Ellie, did you have any others?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, there was a small one that's a tough one. In the second one, you can barely see it, but he is indeed wearing a tinfoil grill on the bottom row of teeth there.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
it's barely visible.
it's a tough one.
That
It's a
is
tough
like
one.
the shine from
I
the
didn't even
sun.
click on the pictures. I was just scrolling up in the text message and I couldn't see that.
It's a tough one, but it is.
Michael scammed us. We got scammed.
All right. Well, Teek and Ellie, excellent job. We're going to save our next picture for the next time. So Teek and Ellie, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, we tied.
You did tie. You did indeed tie, and that's okay. Sometimes there are ties. Let me put the answers up for everybody at home there.
Yeah, we're proud of both of you guys. You guys did great.
We are proud of both of you.
Thank you, Steven.
All right, friends. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, that brings us to the next parts of our show. We're going to do a couple recurring segments. Big thank you to some of our students out there who have done some artwork for us on these segments. We hope you'll enjoy that as well. And let's kick it off with a little something that we're going to be calling Eli's Word of the Week.
Ooh.
Giggles.
And there you go. That is Eli's Word of the Week. His Word of the Week has been giggles. He's been saying giggles non-stop. So we'll be keeping you in touch on what kind of words Eli is saying, because there's a new one just about every single day here. Now it's time to bring in another friend. We're going to call this segment the Blast from the Past. And in this segment, we have a great friend for us. You can hear him a little bit there. Welcome to Daniel Havner. Daniel, how are you?
Like just the three of us are hanging out on a Skype call right now.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. That is kind of what it feels like. Daniel, how are you and Kaylee doing through a few weeks of quarantine here?
We are doing great. I honestly can't say with confidence. I think Stephen would agree. Marriage makes quarantine a lot more bearable. If you were all by yourself right now, I can't imagine living with a toddler. I think that makes it takes the excitement and makes it a little bit more crazy.
There's some crazy.
But it's I don't know, it's pretty wonderful. You know, just being like, hey, yeah, this is my best friend hanging out with me all day.
Yeah,
Stephen, of course.
Stop it, you. You're too kind.
You better hope she doesn't watch this video. Daniel, it'll be no surprise to you. The comments are already rolling in, and it's just a lot of all caps dads.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the main comment so far. So Daniel,
So honored.
quick update. Just what are you doing now? Where are you? And kind of what's occupying your time these days?
Well, it's actually really funny that they were already calling me dad. Katie and I had an announcement. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Daniel, we would have broken the internet with that.
I just had to pull a little Lanier Ward joke there.
I earned
But what was the original question? What's going on? Like, what are we up to?
Yeah, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, nothing too exciting. So I'm still in school, still youth pastoring in Hillsborough, hanging out with some pretty awesome students. And no hate in the comments, please, of the other awesome students. Y'all can both be awesome. But additionally, Kaylee is actually working as a behavior technician, which means she works with kids who are autistic and helps them just improve and achieve some goals. So we're keeping busy, trying to stay afloat, just living life.
Cool. Last question, because we don't want to take up too much of your time because we're all so busy these days. We have so many places to be. What are a couple of your favorite memories when you think back on your years here at TCC? What are a couple of things that stand out? And don't make Stephen cry.
Every single moment with students was always an exciting one. Lots of raging at the TV when I don't know if Fortnite is still all a buzz, but all those hours as we complained about certain people's strategies, and then they got second place consistently. So shout out to Steven.
Saying we're hiding the bush.
But lots of those good moments. I think one of the most eye-opening to me in youth ministry was definitely the very first 50-foot ice cream sundae. That is chaos encapsulated so well in 3 minutes. I've never seen so many middle schoolers devour ice cream so quickly in the most disgusting ways they can think of.
You got
That's very fair.
But that's pretty solid. I think the time in Jamaica too. I think y'all heading back there this year. That was definitely a special experience.
Oh, that's a big ouch. That trip unfortunately just got canceled due to the coronavirus. So thanks for the salt in the wound, Daniel.
Yes, Daniel. Love that. Well, now you guys all know.
Well, Daniel, we love you. We miss you. Thanks for hanging out with us for a few minutes today, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Sounds good. Y'all keep living life.
All right.
Bye,
Daniel.
man. All right. Up next is a new segment we're going to be trying out. I think it's all in the name, so here we go.
Hey guys, it's Lauren, and I'm here to tell you an embarrassing story because we all know I'm full of them. So this was like 2 years ago. I was in college, and I woke up one morning and I was running late for class, and I looked at my alarm clock and I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna be late. And right as I was like, oh no, I need to get up, my little sister decided to open the door to my room, and she was like, hey Lauren, you know Dad's mom? Yeah, she's dead. Dad's mom, my grandma, she's dead. She died. And I was like, I was like, okay. There's no time to like get in the feels about this. Like, just time to go to school. Gonna be late. So I'm driving and I'm like putting on makeup because I was running that late. I was like, okay, let's go. And then I go to my first class, barely cry, make it through. And then I go to, like, in between my classes, I had an hour-long break. And I went with a friend and I was just bawling my eyes out. We were super close, and so like she knew what was going on. She knew my grandma wasn't doing good, and so I was like bawling my eyes out. And then a few minutes before it was time to go to my next class, I was like, okay, time to suck it up. Don't want people to know I was crying. And so then I go to my next class, like barely hanging on, and my teacher goes, welcome class. Today we are going to be learning about grief. And I was like, oh no. And she's like, okay class, now I'm gonna ask you, what do you tell somebody who's grieving? And this kid goes, oh, I know. And she's like, yes, what do you tell a person who's grieving? They go, you tell them not to worry because their person is in a better place now, and so they should know that they're happier where they are versus being here. And she goes, wrong. You don't say that, because you don't know if their person is in a better place. And I was like, oh God, this is gonna be rough. And I like start crying, and like tears are streaming down my cheeks. And like I get to the point where I'm crying so long during this lecture that like, it's like, the sniffles, like if you try to breathe. And so I was like, I just, and then, so the teacher, of course, of all days, literally the one day only that we did busy work in class, she decided was going to be the day she taught about grief. And coincidentally, the morning I found out my grandma died. And so, after I was bawling like the whole lecture, I could tell she was about to wrap up the lecture. She's like, okay, suck it up. And then she starts passing out the papers, and the girl next to me turns to me, she starts talking to me, and then in the middle she stops and she goes, were you just crying? And I just, I start bawling, because it's like, when you're so emotionally unstable and then somebody shows that they care about you, you just like, here come the floodgates. It's like, and I started like just bawling and sobbing, and everybody in the class turns and looks at me, and my teacher's like, oh my gosh, and she like runs over, she's like, what's the matter? And I said, I found out last night, or this morning, that my grandma died last night. And she was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was the worst.
We love Lauren so much. Week after week, Lauren's going to be walking us through many awkward stories that she's had. She's got page after page of them. So we'll be looking forward to Just My Luck with Lauren week after week here. Our next segment, this week we got Pastor Stephen up, but in future weeks, we want you guys to be contributing these. We want to hear from you on how Jesus has changed your life. So let's hear from Pastor Stephen first.
My name is Stephen Lawrence Yakuboski, and this is how Jesus changed my life.
I grew up going to church but never went there for the right reason, because I was much more concerned about my popularity, about playing football, and about getting attention from a whole bunch of people at school. My freshman year, I thought I had it real good, right? I had the girlfriend, I was playing varsity football, and I got a lot of attention from a lot of different people. My junior year, my life kind of changed. I had to get knee surgery my sophomore year, and so I couldn't play football. I lost the girlfriend. After I lost the girlfriend, I lost the popularity as well. And so my junior year, my youth pastor just took me aside and just started to really disciple me, right? To show me Christ, to show me that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, right? And life is so much more than just those different things. So my junior year, again, I gave my life over to Christ, and when I gave my life over to Christ, my life shifted. I was more concerned about my relationships at school and be able to show those people who Jesus Christ is. On my football team, I was more concerned about the kids I was playing with and where they were at, and if they had a relationship with Jesus or not. And so through that, I felt like God was calling me to be a youth pastor. So I went to Baptist Bible College, and then after that, I became a youth pastor because Jesus did some amazing things in my life, and I think he could do some amazing things in yours.
Awesome. Steve, thanks so much for sharing, man. We love you. We're glad you're here with us.
Glad to be here. It's really weird to hear your voice on camera, but there it is.
So yeah, students, we want to hear from you on how Jesus has changed your life. So if you want to share your story really, really quickly, like 1 minute, 90 seconds, that version of your story, we would love to hear from you on that. So with the time we have left, we actually want to dive back into the Bible Project. We've missed so much these last couple months, getting to continue walking through God's Word with you. We're going to save the book overviews for when we get back together in person, but the Bible Project has so many other great things, including the theme videos. And so we're going to dive into the theme videos today. And the one we're going to start with is on the law. If you remember, we were leaving off in Genesis, about to get ready for Exodus when we were unfortunately had to stop meeting. And so the law video is already scheduled to come next. So join in with us. And then on the other side of this video, we're going to invite a couple more friends to come in and talk through it with us.
You're most likely familiar with the 10 Commandments in the Bible, stuff we generally take as good advice. Don't murder, don't steal, honor your parents, the list goes on.
And those are just the first 10. There are actually a total of 613 commands, all given to ancient Israel, found in the first 5 books of the Bible, which in Hebrew are called the Torah.
Now, the word Torah is usually translated in English as the law, because it has all of these laws in it. And as you read through them, you wonder, am I supposed to obey some of these, all of these? I mean, what's the purpose of the law?
Well, that translation is kind of confusing because while the Torah has laws in it, the book itself is fundamentally a story about how God is creating new kinds of people who are fully able to love God and love others. And when Jesus taught about the Torah, he said that he was bringing that story to its fulfillment.
So walk me through the story and how it's fulfilled.
So the story begins with God creating humanity who rebels. And God chooses Abraham to bless all of the nations through his family, who end up in slavery down in Egypt, and so God rescues them. Then at Mount Sinai, God makes a covenant with Israel, like an agreement. And all of the laws that Moses gives to Israel are the terms of that agreement. They're like a constitution. And so some of the laws, they're about rituals and customs that set Israel apart from the nations. Other laws are about social justice or morality. And by following these, Israel would show the other nations what God is like.
Okay, so the rest of the Torah is just the complete list of laws that Moses gives Israel?
No, the rest of the Torah just continues the story. And the 613 commands are only a selection from that original constitution. And even these have been broken up and placed at strategic points within the story. Now pay attention, because you'll see a really clear pattern. Moses gives the first laws to Israel.
Yeah, don't worship other gods, don't make idols.
And then right after that, there's a story of Israel breaking those very laws.
Yeah, they worship the golden calf.
And so Moses gives some more laws, and then you get more stories of rebellion. Some more laws, rebellion again, some more laws, more rebellion, and you start to see the point.
Right, no matter how many laws, they're just going to continue to rebel.
So at the conclusion of the Torah's story, Moses gives this final speech to Israel as they prepare to go into their new home. And he tells them, you guys, I know that you're not going to follow all of God's laws. You've proven to me that you're incapable. And Moses says the problem is that their hearts are hard and that they're going to need new, transformed hearts if they're ever going to truly follow God's law. And he was right. I mean, the story goes on to recount Israel's total failure.
They go into the land, they break all the laws.
Right. Now, the next section of books in the Jewish tradition are the 15 books of the prophets, and they reflect back on the story. For example, Ezekiel, he said that if Israel was ever going to obey the laws, and Isaiah, he promised a future leader, Israel's Messiah, who will lead all of the people in obedience to the law. Now, in Jewish tradition, all of these books together are called the prophets, even the historical books, because they're continuing the story told from the perspective of the prophets.
Okay, so we have the law and the prophets, and they're telling one connected story about God's desire to bless the whole world through a people, Israel, who it turns out needs a new heart.
Yes, and Jesus saw himself as continuing that story. So he agreed with the law and the prophets when he taught that it's out of the human heart that come the most ugly parts of human nature. It's like the default setting of our hearts is opposed to God's law. But Jesus also said that he came to solve that problem, and in his words, to fulfill the law.
So what does he mean there, to fulfill the law?
Well, first he said that the demand of all of the laws in the Torah could be fulfilled by what he called the Great Command, that we are to love God and to love others.
So that seems pretty easy. I mean, we all want to love.
Well, we think we want to love. But Jesus showed how love is far more demanding than we realize. So he quotes the law, do not murder. And he says, yes, not killing someone is a very loving thing to do. But then he also says that when you treat someone with disrespect or when you nurse resentment against them, you're also violating God's moral ideal because you're not treating that person with love. And so Jesus said true love ought to extend even to our own enemies. So even though this command seems very simple, Jesus showed how our hearts are not currently equipped to fulfill even this basic command of God to love others.
And that's kind of a downer.
But where Israel failed, Jesus brought this story to its fulfillment. As Israel's Messiah, he fully loved God and others, and he showed all of the nations what God is truly like. He did this through his acts of compassion and mercy, and ultimately by loving his enemies even unto death. And after his resurrection, he told his followers that he would send God's Spirit to transform their hearts so that they could follow him and fulfill the purpose of the law, to love God and to love their neighbor. So this fulfills the story of the law and the prophets, or in the words of the Apostle Paul, the one who loves fulfills the law.
Cool. Well, we've got any just initial thoughts that you had while watching this video? Did anything stand out? Was there anything new for you?
I think that I really think that this is super interesting. If anybody hasn't and is interested, the Bible Project did a podcast on this. And it took a while to get through. It was about, honestly, it took me about 3 months to get through it. But something I find extremely interesting, especially about this video, the way they break it down, is that God just wants us to, so like we're all since like the fall, since like, you know, like the apple and sin into the world, God's mission is to get us back to the same relationship we had with Adam and Eve in the garden. But over and over again, you know, humanity keeps failing, you know. So it's just over and over again. So it isn't until later when Jesus comes and shows God's perfect love through him that we can gain that. But the law is there to like help us kind of like, it's not there to restrict us, but it's to keep us from falling off the edge into what we think is wise, versus taking the wisdom from God's law to be with him and experience ultimate love. So the law often is conceived as very restricting, and some of them do seem outdated, like 613 laws, a lot of laws. But some of them are like, make sure you don't like put this bucket in your cow or like something like that, way back when. But then he really points it down. I think that's something that like really pinpointed me, especially in this video and in the readings, was that our like everything evil comes from our heart. So God wants to replace our heart, our cold heart, with a heart of flesh for him. But not our flesh. So like that goes in hand with like the two wisdoms. So like there's the wisdom of what we see is desirable versus the wisdom that God gives us. So yeah. And also the fact that the most important laws is to love God and to love others. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, years later, Jesus will even say the entire law is summed up by those two things. So pretty much all 613 of those laws can be categorized as somehow loving God or loving neighbor. That's basically what Jesus comes to tell us. Aiden, anything that you had kind of off the top? Any initial thoughts?
Just that he is love, and if we're made in his image, we should love as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. That's good stuff. So, a lot of people think about this, and Isabella, you touched on it. They think about the Old Testament laws as kind of God's big rule book, and it makes God not very fun, and it makes God not very enjoyable. And a lot of times we think about rules as not enjoyable things. We don't like being told what to do. How do you think that God's laws were an example of his love? Like, how did God's law show love to his people?
I'm trying to think of a specific example, but I do believe that the law, well, like he decided to set aside the Israelites to be an example of God's people. So he kind of makes these laws of like, yeah, you don't murder someone because that's not how you love someone, but he also puts it on the same scale as like it's murdering someone is also equal as talking and abusing them emotionally, you know. So I think that I don't exactly know how to answer this question specifically, but God's law is he understands that we can't love people on our own, that it's only through him that we can like truly love God and love people. So like the fact like he sent Jesus down to simply serve, like Jesus washed people's feet, he he talked with his disciples, he healed people with leprosy, he was changing people's lives who were working in bad conditions or were hated amongst people, like tax collectors. And so I think just the example of like it's hard because there are certain laws that seem a little bit hard for us to understand, but because God is perfectly just and perfectly balanced, our minds by ourselves without God, it's hard for us to see everything super just because we don't have God's wisdom. It's God's wisdom through his love is how we can see the full picture eventually.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to point out the idea that it's basically God's guardrails for what loving each other looks like in a lot of ways. When you read through the law, there's some that are a little bit trickier to understand, but a whole lot of the laws are about how to treat your neighbor and how to treat foreigners from other lands, how to treat other slaves that are around. It's a lot of stuff on protecting people and making sure that people are being treated fairly. So, Aiden, let me start with you on this one. There's 613 laws in the Torah, which is a crazy number, and I need you to name them all 1 through 613, starting now. I'm just kidding. That's not what I need you to do. That's not what I need you to do. So there's 613 laws. Jesus says something in Matthew 5, and I'll read it to you real quick. Jesus says something in Matthew 5 that I think sheds some light on these laws. In Matthew 5, Jesus says, "You've heard that the ancients were told, 'You shall not murder. Whoever commits murder shall be liable to the court.' He says, 'But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be guilty before the court. And whoever says to his brother, you good for nothing, shall be guilty before the Supreme Court. And whoever says, you fool, shall be guilty enough to go to hell,' essentially is what he says." How how do we get more out of this idea that Jesus comes and says, look, it's not just those 613 laws, it actually goes higher than that? What do you think that means?
Well, I think he's saying that if you think about it, he's saying that today we think of like a murder as like some like really bad thing, right? And then we think about lying as it's kind of bad, but then back then, like he was saying, those are the same. Like it's the same because you're not loving them, and all he wants is for us to love because that's what he did and that's what he wants us to do. And both of those things seem very different, but he's saying that they're the same. They're just as bad as one another.
Yeah, and I think he's also saying that Isabella touched on this a little bit earlier, but that the way God views good and bad and right and wrong doesn't stop at the external action. God's actually looking at the heart. God can see something that on the outside looks good, but he knows that it was done totally out of selfish motives. Or God can see something that might look bad, but he sees that the person was actually well-intended and didn't intend anything bad to happen. We don't have that. All we can do is look at actions and kind of guess at motives, but God actually sees straight down to the heart and straight down to the motives that are in the heart. In Jeremiah 17, 5 through 10, it talks about the human heart, and it says that it's deceitful above all else and sick beyond cure. We talk some about guarding our heart. Isabella, does guarding your heart mean something different after kind of hearing about the heart in this way?
I think that, well, like God, he asks us to put on the full armor, I guess. So if we look at the world the way Jesus did with like loving people, we change the way our motive, like our focus changes. So instead of viewing things of like, because like he says that like love is like patient and all these things. So instead of viewing things of like, I'm gonna do this to this like for this person, so I can benefit from it, it becomes selfless. It's like you're shifting your heart's like focus shifts, because like our hearts naturally are deceitful and all these bad things. It's not till the Holy Spirit comes in and kind of like you have like an extra, you have like a sixth sense essentially, like it's like an extra intuitive force. So but learning to like love in that way, I guess, is, I don't know, I'm not doing a very good job answering this question.
No, I think you're on the right track for sure.
Yeah, but it's definitely more selfless and less goal-oriented to like how it's going to benefit me. It's going to be how am I going to connect with this person and connect with God as a central focus point. It's kind of like making a pivot. Like God is like the central path, the center, but you're alongside the other person making a similar goal, but it's equally selfless with God as center.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when we talk about guarding our heart, we're talking about it in this way, like our heart is precious and innocent and it must be protected. And I think we're seeing maybe that's not so much the case. Maybe our heart's actually something we should be a little bit wary of. The whole idea of, just following your heart and listening your heart. I think if we read Jeremiah 17, we might come away with the idea that following our hearts might not be a great thing to do sometimes, because our hearts get attached to things that aren't very helpful for us in the long run. And the idea of guarding your heart is less keeping bad stuff away from your heart and more not letting your heart kind of infect other pieces of you, not letting your heart cause other parts of you to stumble. So I want to talk about just one more thing real quick. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, it mentions that there's a law of Christ. So we think of the law, we mainly think of the Old Testament. We think about all these 613 laws. But in the New Testament, it says that there's a law of Christ. Based on what you know about Jesus and what we've talked about with the law, what do you think the law of Christ is?
I would probably think it's to love your neighbor just as you do yourself, because he came down to earth out of love. He died out of love. He did everything that he ever did for us, like out of love. So if there was one thing that would sum that up, it'd be that we need to be like him and love others.
Yeah, Isabel, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what's so amazing, especially about the shift from the Old Testament to the New Testament, is this is the first time we're seeing part of God in a physical form. Everything up to now is like people can't even look at God. Like there's a, I don't know, like with the burning bush and Moses, like he would take forms in different ways. But this is the first time where like God is physically with humanity. But you know, like we can look at it, like people can see him and talk to him and touch him. He like people could just touch his robe and be healed. But he came in the most like humbling form ever. So I think, yeah, just obviously love is like the main point and the central point of it. But the great thing about what Jesus did is he came down with the intent of love, but he understood as being, and still has the understanding that like we needed to see and like have that tangible thing, because we're so caught up in our own hearts and our own desires that he came and was like, you through me, like, you can be like this. And he offered us salvation through the most like selfless act, which is love. And when you achieve that love, all those things. So when you love, you automatically become more selfless, you become more kind, you become more aware of others. So yeah, I think it's just like a shift of God's ultimate plan in that moment. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Aiden, Isabella, thank you so much for joining us today to talk through this. We hope you guys are doing well, and we will we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right. Well, Steve, I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We will. I promise we'll keep working on this. We know we've had some audio issues a little bit going on, so we will be working out the kinks. Thanks for bearing with us on it. Make sure to be inviting more folks to watch next week. We'd love to have more people. If you want to share your story of how Jesus changed your life, get in touch with one of us. And if you want to be on the show, either playing the game or talking with us, please get in touch as well. We want to include you guys. This is your show. Steve and I just want to be here to run it for you. So, Steve, anything else?
That's it. That's it, man. That's all I got.
Well, we love you guys. Oh, Steve, you wanna leave your way?
Oh no! Oh God!
I think we should go. I think we should go out Steve's way.
Yeah. Hey, 3 things before you guys leave. You are loved. You are valued, and I can't wait to see you guys next week.
Love you guys.
Hope you guys have a great time. Bye.
Bye.